Boss exposing a touching act of kindness, discover the incredible transformation days later. In the bustling small-town medical office of Maplewood, Iowa, Sarah radiated warmth like a bright light in a busy maze of health concerns and ailments. She was the friendly voice guiding patients, the reassuring smile breaking through the tension. Yet beneath her cheerful demeanor, a restless yearning simmered, a desire to be recognized as more than just a receptionist, to be seen for all the potential she harbored within. On a chaotic Tuesday, the familiar buzz of ringing phones and quiet chatter filled the air, but one patient caught Sarah's attention. Maria sat at the front desk, her brow furrowed with anxiety as she wrestled with piles of paperwork. A single mother facing the complexities of health benefits, Maria was grappling with a mountain of forms that felt insurmountable. Without thinking, Sarah lost herself in an instinctual urge to help, bending down beside Maria and guiding her through it with gentle words. It was an act most around her would overlook, a simple moment of compassion wearing heavy with significance. But Dr. Mitchell, the respected physician, stood across the room, witnessing the quiet strength in Sarah's actions. For the first time, he looked beyond her smile to see a woman capable of far more than answering phones. But with renewed attention came whispers behind the scenes. Is Sarah really up for this? Her colleagues questioned. They doubted her ability to juggle newfound ambitions alongside the weight of family obligations. The fear bubbled within Sarah's chest. What if she did pursue her dreams? What if her mother, ever wary of instability, was right to worry that her aspirations could upend their lives entirely? A wave of discouragement washed over her as she wrestled with the doubt slipping into her mind like a thief in the night. Soon, an administrative mishap erupted in the office, an error that left multiple patients frustrated and unsettled. A poisoned atmosphere replaced the once familiar camaraderie. While the majority remained silent, Sarah felt her determination surging. She refused to let the blunder pass unnoticed, but the weight of potential backlash pressed against her spirit. Why was she feeling so conflicted? With her heart racing, she found herself debating whether to voice her truth. Would anyone listen? Would they dismiss her just as her fears echoed in her mind? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Then came the pivotal moment. Sarah stood inside the conference room, the air thickening with unspoken tensions. Her colleagues' eyes turned to her as if waiting for her to take a leap or fall short. With courage brewing like a storm, she spoke up, revealing her perspective on the chaos, her voice steadying against a backdrop of doubt. Every word she uttered seemed to resonate with every person in the room as unease gripped them. Would they finally see her? Would they comprehend the depths of her potential? Biting her lip, Sarah's thoughts raced. She feared the consequences of newfound visibility. The weight of expectation bore down heavily, and yet she stood firm, prepared for a confrontation that could either transform her path or shed light on just how shadowed it had remained. With every eye on her, the air held a charged anticipation, leaving her future suspended in uncertainty. Would she summon the strength to navigate the treacherous waters before her? As Sarah's voice echoed through the conference room, she found herself enveloped in an odd mix of exhilaration and fear. For the first time, her opinions mattered, and the thought sparked a flicker of confidence within her. Yet, the anticipation hung heavy. Uncertainty danced on the edges of every gaze, weighing upon her like a cloak of invisible stones. The discussions that followed were tense and fragmented, with coworkers exchanging doubtful glances. Each response she received felt like a slow burn, igniting a sense of resentment and resolve within her. While some offered support, others dismissed her insights as naive. Sarah began to realize that her willingness to speak up might set her apart, but it also risked her standing within the office. She mulled over her motivations. Was she truly seeking improvement for their collective work, or was she craving validation for her own worth? Afterward, seated at her desk, Sarah's mind raced. Her heart was still pounding, the echoes of her own voice reverberating within her thoughts. She watched patients shuffle in and out, a reminder of why she was there in the first place beyond the title of receptionist, a role that felt stifling yet secure. The bright smiles of those she assisted brought clarity. Perhaps this was her opening to redefine herself. Managing her feelings of fear could become a catalyst for growth. In the days following the confrontation, Sarah took steps toward a budding vision of herself. She sought guidance from Dr. Mitchell, whose kindness she had once witnessed but rarely experienced directly. With a deep breath, she stepped into his office, ready to share her desire for more responsibility. There was a nervous tremor in her voice as she explained her aspirations, how she wanted to contribute more significantly to the office dynamic. To her surprise, Dr. Mitchell listened intently, nodding as she articulated her goals. "Sarah, I've always noticed a certain spark in you. It's good to see you embracing it," he remarked, his words igniting a warmth within her. Perhaps her instinct to help others could extend beyond mere kindness. It could be the foundation of a career she didn't know she desired. Encouraged by his affirmation, she found herself opening up further. "What if I shadow you for a few days? I want to understand the administrative side of things better," she proposed, the tremor in her voice replaced by a newfound steadiness. Dr. Mitchell seemed to consider her words before a smile blossomed across his face. "I think that's an excellent idea. Let us take it one step at a time, shall we?" In that moment, Sarah felt a shift, a subtle unshackling of the doubts that had constrained her. Shadowing Dr. Mitchell gave her insights into the nuances of the practice. It was exhilarating yet overwhelming. The intricacies of paperwork, patient assessments, and even collaboration with insurance companies slowly opened her eyes to a realm she had only glimpsed through the glass wall of her desk. While navigating the complexities of her newfound responsibilities, however, the whispers among her colleagues grew louder. Accusations echoed in corridors, questioning her motives, framing her attempts to elevate her role as a threat. Would she let these murmurs chip away at her gains? With determination fueling her resolve, Sarah knew she had to confront her colleagues directly, not out of spite, but rather to clarify her intentions and establish a new narrative. Standing before them again felt like standing in front of that same storm, anticipation crackling in the air. The time had come to face the storm head-on. Would she emerge as the person she was becoming, or would fear steal away her budding opportunities? As Sarah stood before her colleagues in the break room, the air was thick with murmurs and skepticism. She took a deep breath, steadying herself before diving into her vulnerability. "I know you have concerns about my recent changes," she began, her voice piercing through the anxiety that gripped her. "But I assure you, my intentions are to improve our work environment. I want to help, not undermine anyone." Silence followed. Colleagues exchanged glances, some softening, others hardened. There was Carlos, ever the skeptic, his eyebrows raised in clear disbelief, and Emma, the one who had once been her closest ally, but now seemed uncertain about Sarah's eager ambitions. "Help?" Carlos finally replied, his tone edged with disbelief. "I get that you want to shine, but do you even know what we're doing here? This isn't some school project. That's exactly why I want to learn." Sarah insisted, her heart racing as she spoke. "I know I'm starting from a place of less experience, but I believe I could contribute something meaningful if you give me a chance." She noticed Emma's expression shatter slightly, an inkling of understanding illuminating her features. "We all started somewhere, didn't we?" Emma finally said, her tone shifting. "What makes you think you can handle what we do?" "Because I care," replied Sarah, grit creeping in her tone. "I see how hard each of you works. I'm grateful for it. My purpose here is to ensure that patients walk away feeling helped and supported, and if I can do more than just answer the phone, I want to embrace that. There was a beat of contemplation in the room, a moment pregnant with possibility. Sarah allowed herself to hope that her authenticity could bridge the gap between skepticism and acceptance. Yet, before she could bask in that moment, the conversation turned again, Carlos's voice breaking through the charged silence like thunder. "But it still feels like you're playing with fire," he said, crossing his arms. "If you fail, it reflects on all of us. What happens when you crash and burn?" A deep pocket of fear opened up inside her. Was she setting herself up for failure? The doubts rushed back, threatening to intertwine with her resolve. But as she looked around the room, she saw more than just discontent. There were remnants of camaraderie, flickerings of what had once been a supportive team. "I understand the risks," Sarah replied, a steadiness returning to her voice. "But sometimes growth requires us to embrace that risk. I'm asking for your support so I can learn from the best. Failing means learning, and I'll do my best not to let you down." With that, she turned to leave, letting her words hang in the air like unresolved tension. The murmurs continued behind her, but they felt lighter somehow, less a barrage of charges and more a collective pondering of intent. In the days that followed, the dynamics subtly shifted. Sarah found herself enveloped in a bubble of cautious optimism as she shadowed Dr. Mitchell. She found herself deeply immersed in the administrative details, and each new lesson fanned the flames of her determination. Yet, the frail friendships at work still lingered like shadows, and she felt the weight of their judgment even as she flourished. Then came an unexpected phone call from a patient whom Sarah had helped weeks ago. His gratitude poured through the receiver, and the validation she craved coursed through her like a sweet balm. However, amid the warmth of success, a nagging thought emerged. If her colleagues were still harboring resistance, would one phone call really be enough to shift their perspective? What truly lay ahead would demand more than she had prepared for. As the realities of her journey collided with her uncharted territory, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the most significant confrontation was yet to come. She needed not only to prove herself to her coworkers, but to confront her own undercurrents of fear and self-doubt swirling beneath her newfound determination. With the day approaching when she would present her first project idea to the team, Sarah set her sights on preparing not just for the challenges she faced externally, but also for the affair within herself. Could she decisively tap into her emerging confidence and channel it into momentum that dispelled the overshadowing fears? As she scribbled ideas feverishly, her thoughts ran wild, fueled by her conviction. What awaited her when she faced the team again was poised to be a true test not just of her professional aptitude, but of the strength she was beginning to carve out within. Would she seize this opportunity to become a pivotal force in her workplace, or would she find her resolve slipping through her fingers once more? Sarah woke up the next morning with the sunlight breaking through her curtains, illuminating the clutter on her desk, where papers lay strewn about. It was the day of her presentation, a moment she had both anticipated and dreaded. Her stomach churned from the weight of her ambitions, but she knew that this wasn't just about the project. It was about redefining her place in a world that had felt so intimidating not long ago. She took a moment for herself, breathing in deeply and reflecting on her purpose in this journey. What did each scrawled note and brainstorming session mean if she didn't push herself to embrace not just the good moments, but potential failure as well? It was a choice. Either let the fear consume her or harness it to drive her forward. As she arrived at work, the office buzzed with the familiar rhythm of a busy day. She felt the energy around her, pulsing with the ups and downs of patient care, and it struck her that she was not an outsider anymore. Her sense of responsibility aligned her with her colleagues in a shared mission, providing care. However, the shadows of her previous interactions loomed as she approached the conference room where doubt and hope warred within her. The room gradually filled with an expectant crowd of her coworkers. Among them stood Carlos, tracing the lines of a suspicious glare across his face. Emma took a seat nearby, her expression more neutral than the cautious optimism of the past few days. Was this the moment where she would stand tall or falter under their scrutiny? As she stood before them, hands clasped tightly to suppress anxious tremors, the presentation slides flickered to life. Sarah began, every voice in her mind urging her to assert her newfound confidence. Today, I want to share a project that focuses on enhancing patient engagement and communication, ensuring no one feels lost through the treatment process. She could see their eyes dart back and forth, listening intently yet questioning her every word. As she delved deeper into her idea, her initial nerves gradually transformed into a steady cadence, conviction lacing each sentence. The structure was sound. She had crafted a plan that could genuinely benefit both patients and staff. However, challenge arose when Carlos raised a hand, interrupting her flow. What makes you think this will actually change anything? Isn't this just another idea to add to the pile? His skepticism hung in the air, a tangible barrier she needed to break through. Because I believe the difference starts with how we connect as a team, Sarah countered, the words tumbling out with an urgency she hadn't anticipated. We can't change patient experiences without first fostering a supportive environment ourselves. Yes, I am inexperienced compared to many of you, but I also bring fresh perspectives that can challenge the status quo. Isn't that what we need? Carlos's incredulous expression shifted slightly, perhaps conceding a fraction of his doubt. Murmurs of agreement began to ripple through the room as Sarah felt the tide of skepticism ebb, albeit ever so slightly. When she completed her presentation and opened the floor to discussion, the atmosphere shifted. Colleagues who had previously remained silent began to engage, offering their insights. Sarah felt the tension circulate and morph into something constructive. Emma spoke up, validating parts of Sarah's vision and suggesting collaborations that could anchor the proposal further. Yet, as the discussion unfolded, Sarah faced another internal battle, the drive to maintain her voice without overpowering her coworkers' thoughts. Balancing confidence with humility had never been an innate quality for her, and here it was painfully apparent. Was she truly finding her footing, or was she merely dancing around the reality of her inexperience? The conversation carried on with fervor, and while Sarah remained engaged, a gnawing fear clung to her heart. What if this newfound harmony was merely a facade? What if their camaraderie faded once the adrenaline of the moment faded? Despite the lighthearted exchange of ideas, she sensed that the real challenge had only just begun. As the meeting concluded, the applause felt warm, but uncertainty lingered like a veil. Perhaps the skepticism that had enveloped her colleagues wouldn't vanish so easily. With half-hearted elation coating her thoughts, Sarah resolved that this victory was only the first step. She needed to cultivate not just acceptance, but a true bond of trust with her team. And so, she prepared to delve deeper, not only into professional aspirations, but into the core understanding of the office dynamics she had yet to master. I have to make them see me as more than just an idea, she thought. They must see me as a capable partner. As she walked back to her desk, her heart quickened again, not from anxiety, but from the stirring resolve that if this was a new beginning, she would navigate both the dangers and possibilities that lay ahead. With her colleagues still digesting her presentation, an urgent message lit up her phone. Dr. Mitchell wanted to discuss implementing her ideas urgently. What could this mean for her budding ascent? Would it solidify her role or expose the cracks still lurking in her confidence? The answer awaited her, hanging like an unturning page in a book she was desperate to read. As Sarah settled back at her desk, the urgency of Dr. Mitchell's request buzzed in her mind like an unsolved puzzle. Her thoughts tangled through the possibilities. Was this her chance to truly assert her place in the team, or merely a fleeting moment of acknowledgement? She glanced at the clock, counting down the minutes until her meeting with Dr. Mitchell. Part of her wanted to prepare, to meticulously review her presentation yet again, honing every detail until it felt like second nature. But another part of her recoiled from the fear of over-preparation. What if this endeavor spiraled into another impersonal analysis, devoid of the passion she had just ignited in the conference room? Sarah decided to cultivate a sense of authenticity, a choice reflecting her evolving mindset. She opened a blank document and began typing. Instead of going over statistics or reports, she poured her thoughts onto the page, articulating her vision as if she were truly conversing with Dr. Mitchell. Her fingers flew over the keys, capturing the essence of her ideas: the robust need for connection between staff and patients, the innovation she envisioned. Time blurred into the background, and by the time she gathered her notes, Sarah felt a rush of anticipation mixed with anxiety. This meeting could determine not only the success of her project, but also her trajectory in a professional culture historically marred by reticence and hierarchical boundaries. As she entered Dr. Mitchell's office, her mind raced. The subtle nuance of his expression, a blend of curiosity and expectation, started to unveil a new dimension of their collaboration. "I appreciate your presentation, Sarah," he began, leaning back in his chair with a contemplative posture. "You've pointed out something vital. Engaging our patients is fundamental, yet so many overlook what it truly means to connect." His affirmation ignited a spark in her. "I believe if we establish stronger lines of communication among ourselves, that will reflect in how we treat our patients. We need to be a cohesive unit to foster a trusted environment." "That's exactly what I hope to discuss," Dr. Mitchell replied, an approving smile gracing his features. "What do you envision in terms of next steps? I want you to take charge of this initiative." Her heart surged. "Me? Yes, you have fresh perspectives I think the team needs right now. But I also need you to think critically about how to bring them on board. Lead with a plan that incorporates their voices, not just yours. Can you do that?" The weight of his words settled heavily on her shoulders. Leading this would require deft navigation of interpersonal relationships, balancing authority with the nuances of team dynamics she had yet fully to master. "I can," she answered, though self-doubt flickered at the edges of her certainty. "I'll create a workshop to explore ideas, get feedback, and encourage participation. We'll build this together." He nodded approvingly, indicating trust she had not expected from such an esteemed authority. "Keep me updated on the progress. I believe in your ability to do this." Stepping out, Sarah felt both exhilarated and terrified. This was her first real leadership role, and doubt shadowed every confident step she took. Could she support her colleagues while simultaneously asserting her vision? As she returned to her desk, she couldn't shake the lingering trepidation that her strengths might not be enough to confront the deeper currents in her workplace. Leadership was a labyrinth, and she was both a newcomer and an architect of change now. As the day stretched on, Sarah wrestled with her burgeoning role, unwittingly mired in a self-imposed quest to unravel the complexities of her relationships with Carlos, Emma, and others. Their opinions echoed in her mind, and she questioned if she could genuinely transform a culture that had felt stagnant for so long. The tension boiled when she crossed paths with Carlos in the break room. With a hint of defiance, he leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "You really think you can lead this? Just because Dr. Mitchell gave you the green light?" She steadied herself, the instinct to retreat curling in her stomach. "I think there are ideas worth exploring, and we need to work together to realize them. Your expertise could greatly enhance what I'm proposing, not diminish it." Carlos's eyebrows shot up, surprise flickering in his eyes. "You're not as naive as I thought. But do you really think you can bring everyone on board?" The air hung heavy as Sarah gathered her thoughts. "Yes, I believe I can. But it's going to take honesty, willingness to collaborate, and a lot of hard work." The walls of her resolve fortified, even as flickering doubts clung to her like shadows. Could this emerging understanding bridge the chasm between skepticism and trust? Only time would tell, and Sarah understood that every moment now mattered more than ever. As the clock struck 5, she prepared herself for the road ahead, her mind racing with ideas and convictions competing for priority. The weight of leadership loomed larger than she anticipated, but she felt an undeniable taste of ambition propelling her forward. Would she rise to the occasion, or would the pressures of expectation bring her crashing down? Determined to dive deeper, she chose the path of honesty in her pursuits, Painfully aware that true leadership would test the very core of her self-assurance, a challenge perhaps she was ready to embrace, yet terrified to fully acknowledge. The moment of truth lay ahead, but she could not see it clearly. Was she ready to confront whatever awaited her as she took her first serious steps into leadership? The following morning, Sarah arrived at the office with a renewed sense of purpose. The lights streaming through the windows seemed to inject energy into her resolve. Today marked the beginning of the workshop series she planned to hold, an opportunity for open dialogue and collaboration. She wanted to shake off the weight of uncertainty and step into a role that felt bigger than herself. As she settled at her desk, she took a moment to organize her notes. The workshop was designed to be interactive, with activities that would draw out ideas and concerns alike. Still, apprehension seeped into the corners of her mind. Would her colleagues embrace this effort? Would they share their thoughts openly, or would they retreat into the familiar patterns of disengagement? She decided to take proactive steps, sending out an email to the team, highlighting the purpose of the upcoming workshops and emphasizing her desire for their input. The words felt like a tentative bridge, an invitation laced with both vulnerability and initiative. The clock ticked endlessly as she awaited responses, her heart thumping in rhythm with the ticking seconds. When the first reply pinged in, an affirmation from Emma, relief washed over her. "Count me in," the message read simply. It was a small victory, yet significant. It pierced the fog of her doubts and reignited her determination. But the glow dulled quickly as she anticipated Carlos's response. How would he react? Would he dismiss the workshop as just another fleeting project? Would he still view her as an inexperienced leader? At lunch, the air in the break room felt charged with unspoken dynamics. Carlos loomed, engaged in discussion with colleagues, his laughter echoing a confidence she envied. She hesitated at first, weighed down by insecurities, but then decided she couldn't avoid him forever. With every step towards him, she felt the tug of her new role, a leader required to face challenges head-on. "Hey, Carlos," she started, her voice steady despite the flutter in her stomach. "I want to share the agenda for the workshop this afternoon. I really want everyone's input, and that includes yours." He turned, surprise etched across his face, but then nodded, his posture softening. "All right, I'll take a look." "Great." This small exchange felt monumental. The skepticism that had colored their previous interactions began to lift, revealing the potential for a collaboration. Yet the confrontation of her leadership ambitions was only just beginning to. As the meeting approached, Sarah found herself pacing the floor of the conference room. She prepared to unveil her vision for fostering communication, each moment thick with anticipation. Her nervousness lingered. Every sound around her heightened her awareness, the hum of the air conditioning, the distant chatter of colleagues in the hallway, the clock that was ticking her countdown to presentation. Finally, the group gathered, an assortment of curious and skeptical expressions filling the seats. Sarah swallowed hard, recalling Dr. Mitchell's words about incorporating their voices. She reminded herself that this was about collective growth, not about her individual brilliance. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steadier than she felt. "I believe we have the potential to create a culture of openness, and I'd like to explore ways we can achieve that together." As she highlighted the agenda, she offered space for discussion, encouraging her colleagues to ask questions and share their opinions. The initial silence was heavy, but slowly, hands began to raise. Ideas poured in, some constructive, others robustly critical. Yet, with each contribution, Sarah noticed something shifting. Skepticism began cracking open to collaboration. After the workshop wrapped, a sense of fulfillment washed over her. Each shared idea felt like a step forward, and the initial tension had morphed into a bubbling enthusiasm. Even Carlos's remarks were not as dismissive as she feared. He offered insights that were pivotal to their brainstorming. As everyone left, Sarah lingered, reflecting on the tumultuous process she had just navigated. Perhaps leadership wasn't about having all the answers, but rather about creating a space where others felt valued enough to speak. But an unexpected email alert drew her attention, a note from Dr. Mitchell, asking for a meeting later that week to discuss something important. Anxiety ricocheted through her. What could this mean? Would it be a commendation or a correction? Determined to tackle whatever news awaited her, Sarah straightened her back, ready to embrace what lay ahead. The real test of her emerging leadership would soon unfold, pushing her to confront the reality of her newly claimed position. The afternoon sun filtered through the office blinds, casting long shadows and giving everything a golden hue. Sarah sat at her desk, glancing repeatedly at the clock, counting down the minutes to her meeting with Dr. Mitchell. The dialogue from the workshop earlier resonated in her mind. Each voice had deepened her understanding of the complexities at play within the team. Yet, in the wake of that exhilaration, a gnawing apprehension took root. What if Dr. Mitchell's intentions were to address her shortcomings? She forced herself to focus on the task at hand, pulling out a blank sheet of paper to draft ideas for future workshops based on the feedback she had received. The brainstorming session had revealed clear desires for more teamwork and transparency of vision she now felt more equipped to guide them towards. With confidence, she jotted down potential topics and interactive exercises that could continue to foster engagement. Just as she was getting lost in the flow of ink on paper, a soft knock on her door interrupted her concentration. It was Carlos, his arms crossed, posture relaxed yet attentive. "Do you have a minute?" he asked. "Sure, come in," she replied, motioning for him to take a seat. He closed the door behind him and leaned forward slightly. "I just want to say, you did a great job in the workshop today. I wasn't expecting the level of discussion we had." His compliment made her heart flutter. "Thanks, I was nervous, but it felt important to create a space for everyone." Carlos nodded, seeming to consider her words. "You showed a different side of your leadership today. It's like you flipped a switch and the team responded." Sarah's nerves eased momentarily, but the weight of their previous interactions still lingered in the air. "I guess I'm just trying to find my way," she admitted. "I want to encourage people to speak up, but there's still so much to learn." With a smirk, Carlos leaned back slightly. "This isn't bad for a first try. Just don't forget, you don't always have to have all the answers. Sometimes the power lies in asking the right questions." His words struck a chord within her, echoing Dr. Mitchell's teachings about empowerment. "You're right," she said, her conviction strengthening. "Maybe I can turn that into a theme for our next workshop." Just as she began to brainstorm ideas for the next session, her phone buzzed on the desk, snapping her back to the present. It was an email reminder for her meeting with Dr. Mitchell. The opportunity to confront her unease and grow from it seemed imminent. "I have to meet with Dr. Mitchell soon," Sarah said, anxiety creeping back in. "I've been waiting for this discussion about the workshops." "Just remember," Carlos said, his tone serious but supportive, "whatever feedback you receive is not just about you. It's about where we can go as a team. Embrace it." His encouragement bolstered her dwindling confidence. "Thanks, Carlos. I'll take that to heart." They exchanged a few more words before he left, the encouragement still echoing as she stared at the blank email screen briefly before her fingers danced over the keyboard to type her notes for Dr. Mitchell. For once, she felt she had pertinent feedback to contribute, grounded in her observations and the desire to improve. With every word typed, a sense of empowerment washed over her, intertwining with her looming apprehension about the meeting. Was she ready to defend her vision, to counter critiques? The meeting arrived all too soon. Facing Dr. Mitchell across the conference table, she sensed an unexpected tremor of strength building within her. With the scattered thoughts of the day swirling, she held onto the belief that this moment wasn't just a judgment of her efforts, but an invitation for growth. "Sarah," Dr. Mitchell began, his eyes fixing on her intently, "I appreciate the initiative you've shown, but we need to discuss." The phrase hung in the air, pregnant with foreboding. As Sarah prepared herself for an in-depth conversation about her fledgling leadership, a realization struck her. This was what leadership meant: embracing both constructive criticism and celebration of her evolution. But before she could fully digest this revelation, Dr. Mitchell listed several concerns. Each point raised questions that nagged at her growing self-assurance. Would she sink or swim beneath the pressure of this pivotal moment? The answer rested somewhere within her as she braced for the depths of the discussion ahead. The real test of her resolve had just begun, and Sarah understood that in confronting uncertainty, she would unveil her true self. The room, once filled with the golden afternoon light, now felt constricted, as if the walls were closing in on her with every critique. Dr. Mitchell laid out his points succinctly. There were gaps in the workshop structure she had proposed, concerns about engagement levels, and questions about her capacity to lead with authority while remaining approachable. Each comment was a pinpoint laser that tore through her fragile confidence. But within the tight spiral of her anxiety, a flicker of determination ignited. "I appreciate the feedback, Dr. Mitchell." Sarah found her voice steady but still quivering. "I want to make sure that the workshops serve our team's needs, and I'm eager to adapt based on your insights." Dr. Mitchell's brows arched, clearly surprised by her willingness to listen. "That's a good place to start. What do you think you could improve upon first?" Sarah felt a magnetic pull to the whiteboard across the room, yearning to illustrate the themes that danced in her mind. "I think integrating more hands-on activities could foster practical engagement," she began. "I want to focus on building trust through collaborative exercises. I believe that will deepen our connection and, consequently, our productivity." He leaned back, assessing her enthusiasm against the backdrop of his previous concerns. "That sounds promising. But remember, it falls on you to ensure everyone feels included in that process. That's where leadership truly manifests." A flicker of self-doubt crept in again as she considered the challenges of inclusivity. "I understand," she replied carefully. "As I revise the plans, I want to incorporate more ways for individuals to voice opinions anonymously. That could help bridge gaps in participation." Dr. Mitchell nodded, his gaze steady but probing. "Good. It's a start, but don't overlook the need for your own visibility as the leader. It's not just about others speaking. It's about ensuring they see you facilitating and guiding." Her heart raced. "What if I'm not taken seriously? I want to be relatable, but also respected." "Finding that balance is part of the journey," he replied, the tone softening. "This is an opportunity for your growth, not just a critique. If you want to be seen as a leader, stepping into that role requires confidence and conviction." With each exchange, Sarah felt a deeper understanding of her role sinking in. She wasn't merely a participant in this process. She was shaping it. The tension in her shoulders began to ease. "I'm ready to embrace that challenge," she asserted, allowing the budding belief in herself to override the lingering uncertainty. Dr. Mitchell offered a rare, genuine smile. "That's what I wanted to hear, Sarah. Take these points, reflect on them, formulate your new plan, and present it to the team. In leadership, there's always a phase of discomfort followed by growth." The meeting concluded with a new sense of purpose infecting the air between them. Sarah left that room not only equipped with actionable feedback, but invigorated by a vision of what her leadership could look like. The journey ahead loomed large in her mind. It was an awakening both terrifying and exhilarating. Would she have the courage to implement those changes? To truly let her voice resonate in ways she had only dreamed? Later that evening, her mind still buzzed with potential ideas as she sat at her desk again, surrounded by papers of half-formed concepts and notes from the conversation with Dr. Mitchell. She felt tasked but determined. The realization that growth required vulnerability seeped deep into her thoughts. But as thoughts of strategies filled her notes, another flickering sensation gripped her, an unease that challenged the brittle confidence she had just built. In her gut was a haunting whisper: what if her past failures defined her, rather than her potential success? Embracing the paradox of fear and courage, she leaned into the uncertainty. The ultimate test was upon her, and the question remained: could she weave her newfound insights into a cohesive vision that would not only strengthen her leadership but also redefine her relationship with the team? When she stood to face her coworkers next, would they view the change in her approach as just another attempt, or would they recognize the profound transformation taking root within her? As night enveloped the office, Sarah felt the pulse of her ambitions and limitations intertwining, waiting for the moment when the truth of her potential would be revealed. With the dawn of a new day, Sarah returned to the office, her heart pounding with both excitement and trepidation. The morning light flooded her workspace, illuminating her notes where she had sketched out the rough framework for her revamped workshops. This time, she had the conviction to embrace risks and tailor her ideas to fit the needs of her team. Yet, emerging from the comfort of pensiveness to face her colleagues instilled a wave of anxiety that threatened to undo her resolve. As she prepared for the team meeting, Sarah's mind raced with self-doubt. She stood in front of the mirror, scrutinizing her reflection. The image of a leader was eclipsed by the specter of past mistakes, failed projects, disengaged colleagues. Would they see her as an imposter, a faux leader desperately attempting to wear a mask of confidence? Choosing to push through, she straightened her back, practiced her smile, and silently reminded herself of Dr. Mitchell's words about being visible and guiding the conversation. With a purposeful breath, she stepped into the conference room, her pulse racing with a mix of adrenaline and fear. The room buzzed with chatter as her team assembled, unaware of the storm brewing beneath her composed exterior. She began by recounting her journey since the last meeting, celebrating her newfound willingness to act upon constructive criticism. With each word, she strived to infuse her talk with authenticity, showcasing the vulnerabilities that shaped her leadership perspective. "I've taken your feedback seriously, and I want this to become a collaborative approach," she said, locking eyes with her team. "Today, I'll share the new framework, and I would love for each of you to contribute your thoughts. It's not just my vision, it's ours together." The words hung in the air, a silent invitation for participation. She presented her ideas for the workshops, hands-on activities aimed at fostering connection, suggestions for anonymous feedback, and a commitment to inclusivity. As she revealed her plans, she watched her colleagues lean in, their expressions shifting from skepticism to curiosity. However, right at that moment, a voice pierced through the congenial atmosphere. Robert, a team member known for his blunt demeanor, interjected, "How do we know this isn't just another initiative that fizzles out? You've said a lot before. Why should we invest time in this?" The room fell silent, tension thickening the air. Sarah's heart sank momentarily, the sharp jab reigniting insecurities she had hoped to overcome. But instead of retreating, she confronted the comment head-on, drawing on the importance of transparency and shared responsibility. "That's a fair question, Robert," she replied, meeting his gaze. "I understand the hesitation. This time, I'm not asking you to trust me blindly. I'm asking for your input and commitment to make this succeed. Let us work together, and if we find that it's not moving in the right direction, we can pivot." A subtle shift occurred. The challenge had sparked a discussion, allowing her colleagues to voice their concerns and suggestions openly. What started as a singular presentation morphed into a vibrant dialogue filled with diverse perspectives. Sarah felt empowered by their engagement. This wasn't just her work, it was a collective endeavor. Throughout the meeting, discussions evolved. Ideas flowed, creativity surged, and for the first time, Sarah felt the thrill of genuine leadership take root. Trust, she realized, was built in moments like these when she chose to stand her ground, even in the face of criticism, and invite her team to contribute to a shared vision. Yet, as the momentum built, so did an unsettling thought. Despite the camaraderie, were her efforts and newfound approach truly enough to overcome the weight of her history? As she concluded with a call for ongoing feedback and collaboration, the energy in the room transformed. Colleagues leaned toward each other, breathing life into plans with a shared determination that reignited a sense of purpose. But as she returned to her desk, a cloud of uncertainty lingered just beneath the surface. What if the very vulnerability she embraced became her undoing? The moment of resolution was approaching, but so was the revelation that her leadership journey involved more than overcoming self-doubt. It required the courage to face external skepticism while still forging ahead. What ripple effects would her transformation unleash, both within herself and the team she aspired to lead? As the weeks unfolded, Sarah found her footing in the turbulent waters of leadership, navigating through trials with a fluidity she once thought impossible. Each workshop became a testament to her growing influence, blending her vision with the contributions of her colleagues. Her initial anxiety began to dissipate as she embraced the complexity of teamwork. Each dialogue became a building block, fortifying her newfound role as a leader. The transformation wasn't merely external. Internally, Sarah evolved into a more confident version of herself. Conversations that once induced crippling doubt now ignited a fire within her. Carlos, Emma, and even Robert were beginning to engage with her ideas, their skepticism thawing into genuine curiosity and collaboration. The moments of laughter shared over brainstorming sessions and the sharing of critical feedback reinforced their bond as a team. But the ultimate test awaited her, an upcoming evaluation with Dr. Mitchell regarding the workshop's impact on team dynamics. The weight of expectation pressed down on her. This wasn't just about her success. It was about solidifying trust and establishing a lasting change within the office culture. The fear of reverting to the background gnawed at her, but each night of reflection strengthened her resolve. She had come too far to turn back. The day of the evaluation arrived, and Sarah stepped into Dr. Mitchell's office with a calm she hadn't felt before. Her presentation reflected not only her hard work, but also the contributions of her team. Dr. Mitchell, I wanted to present our progress. She began, equipped with visuals and data showcasing the tangible impact the workshops had made. Increased communication, higher engagement scores, and improved patient interactions. Dr. Mitchell listened intently, nodding as she spoke. She could see that he appreciated her tailored approach to leadership. The feedback she received from her colleagues had transformed her initiative into a collective movement rather than a solitary effort, and this distinction did not go unnoticed. Sarah, I must say, I'm impressed by your ability to foster an open dialogue and drive participation, Dr. Mitchell remarked, his tone affirming. The metrics speak for themselves. But tell me, what do you consider your biggest obstacle in this journey? Sarah paused, reflecting deeply. Initially, my challenge was overcoming my self-doubt and stepping into a space I believed was beyond my reach. But I realized that my role wasn't about having all the answers. It was about creating a platform where my team could share their insights. The biggest transformation was understanding the value of trust and collaboration. Now, instead of fearing failure, I view it as an opportunity for learning. Dr. Mitchell's expression softened, an acknowledgement of her growth. In defining your leadership style, you have embraced vulnerability, which many fear to expose. That genuine approach is what will pave the way for future leaders in this practice. A wave of pride surged through her. For the first time, she felt recognized not just as a receptionist, but as a pivotal part of the organization, the catalyst for change. Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. I believe it's about us moving forward together, and I'm committed to maintaining this collaborative environment. Continue cultivating this spirit, and you'll see even greater achievements ahead, he concluded, extending his hand. As their hands clasped, Sarah felt the weight of past discontent lift, replaced with a solid confidence. She had conquered her fears, achieved tangible results, and had proven her competence, no longer merely a receptionist, but a recognized member of a leadership team. When she returned to her desk, the warmth of her accomplishment enveloped her like a long-lost friend. The smiles of her colleagues greeted her, each reflective of the bond they had nurtured together. Sarah took a moment to absorb the environment she had a hand in shaping, one that felt vibrant and supportive. In that instant of fulfillment, she realized her journey was about so much more than mere professional recognition. It was a testament to her capacity for growth. She didn't just aspire to lead. She would embrace leadership as a continuous journey, an ongoing evolution fueled by courage, trust, and a shared vision of success. Now was the moment to reach out. Her heart swelled with gratitude, compelling her to invite her colleagues to join in a celebration of their collective triumph. Together, they had built a culture of openness where every voice mattered. Sarah's transformation had come full circle. It was more than her own. It was a shared achievement, forged in the crucible of collaboration, compassion, and relentless pursuit of improvement. You need to subscribe now to witness the power of transformation in real time and not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others find inspiration in their journeys. Comment your reactions and theories about Sarah's incredible journey and where it could lead next. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see the impact of true leadership and collective growth. This is the moment to show your support and become part of our community celebrating personal achievements. Don't wait even one more second. Be the change you want to see.